Welcome to the Bill Levinson Experience, a motivational podcast relating to the insurance brokerage industry and business in general. And now, here's Bill Levinson.
Okay, good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to the Bill Levinson Experience podcast. So here we are once again, late October, early November, launching our monthly live episode. And I'm very, very excited about this month's episode for a few reasons. And I know I say this every month, but each episode kind of has a unique twist, turn, niche, whatever you want to call it. And this month's episode, same thing goes. And the reason why, this is one of our top agents, GAs, whatever you want to call them, that's been with us for over 10 years. He's been to most of our live agent expos in South Florida, and he consistently, and I mean this when I say it, consistently increases his business with us and in the industry as a whole. So I love what he's doing. And by the way, when I say that, I don't say that lightly, because even during the pandemic, you know, the same thing goes year after year with Mr. Mike Patel. So very, very impressive stuff. I asked him a few months ago if he would join us on the Bill Levinson Experience podcast, and he agreed, which my hat goes off to him, because let's face it, you know, an hour out of a busy, you know, Friday afternoon means the world to us. And the bottom line is, it's to help you all, right? If you can learn something and take away a nugget, as I like to call them, and write down some notes that you can change your practice or get a tip or idea, right? And you can win at the end of the day and sell more product, or maybe even team up with Mike, then it was all worthwhile. So that's the name of the game when it comes to these monthly trainings. So let's, I want to just shift gears for a second and talk about our guest speaker today. So real quick, like I said, Mike is not just another one of our 20,000 agents. He means a lot to us, and year after year, he is constantly pushing the envelope. So Mike, first off, I want to thank you so much for joining us today. So thank you for taking the time, buddy.
Thank you, Bill.
Yep. No, of course. All right, so let's back this up a little bit and start, you know, day one. If you can just tell us, you know, maybe a little bit about you know, growing up and starting in this industry and college, and, you know, what made you, you know, look towards the life insurance space. Just give us a little background, if you will.
Yeah. I went to college, studied finance at a reputable business school, and DePaul University in downtown Chicago. And while I was studying finance, I decided in late junior year of college to use my finance degree in this subfield of finance, which is insurance and investments. So I had a very good family friend of my parents who was a John Hancock sales manager. And I contacted him because I was going to graduate college in the year, and he said that, why don't I come and see him? And I went to see him and interviewed with him, and I started part-time the first year of the insurance world as a career agent for John Hancock. I got licensed at the beginning of my senior year of college, and I worked part-time, and a year later, after graduation, I went full-time.
Very interesting. Yeah, very. So you started 100% with John Hancock.
Yes, I was a career agent selling insurance and security products, because I got licensed for both through John Hancock at the time, and I spent about 7 years with John Hancock as a career agent, and I loved John Hancock at that point because I wanted to do one other set of insurance that John Hancock didn't do and still doesn't do, which is property casualty insurance. So back in the 90s, Prudential which everybody's heard of, The Rock. They were doing PNC, or property casualty insurance, as it's called. So I moved from John Hancock to Prudential as a career agent with Prudential for about 3 years, and then it dawned on me after 10 years of working in the career channel. I'm like, I made a good living as a career agent. I have no complaints, but I thought something dawned on me that, you know what, I could have made even more money, and I could have helped a lot more people if I had more options and choices to give up. But unfortunately, when you work as a career agent, you can only offer what the company offers.
Yeah, no, that's so true. You hear like this common theme when we talk to some of our more successful agents, and they all start off with either Met, Pru, Hancock, and they cut their teeth, right? And then they start to open their eyes and learn, and it kind of comes to the same place. Sometimes it's 3 years, 5 years, 10 years, but it's just funny how that happens. But let me ask you just a quick question, and we get this all the time too. Well, number one, when did you start? When did you get your license? Let's say in the insurance industry. It's been about 30 years.
30 years. I'm finishing my 30th year now. I got licensed in 1993.
Wow, very impressive. So just about 30 years. So that within itself is unreal. And then, and this is interesting too, but like when obviously you got your 4-year degree, and then you were working part-time with Hancock, was this something that you said to yourself, oh, I'm going to be the best insurance agent ever, and this is what I'm going to do for the rest of my life? And was your family proud of you, or was it something like, you know what, I'll try it out and kind of see how it goes?
No,
I'm just curious.
I was kind of sure on the insurance side, but more than that, I was sure on the security side.
Yeah.
Just because of my finance degree. But in late '99, I went November of 1999. I went independent. Okay, so I decided that now is the right time to go become an independent agent. So I became an independent in November of 1999, and because I had a non-compete with John Hancock and Prudential for X number of years, I basically started from zero when I went independent.
Wow. And that was about 7 years after you started, roughly?
Yes, because
wow,
I had a non-compete. So I couldn't call the customers I already had with those carriers, but I took the risk because I was living with my parents at the time, and so I decided to just take the risk and start from zero again, and I built up, worked hard and built up a pretty decent-sized independent agency as I have today.
Good for you, and you never look back, obviously, because here you are today. Wow, I didn't even know that. That's a great story, Mike. And so you started from ground zero, and you built up it took a few years, would you say, to start to get on your feet, maybe a year or two?
It took me 10 years of hard work to cross over 100,000 income all over again.
Yeah, that's an awesome story, and you should be very proud. When you look at the success rate in this industry, and you look at like someone that either started day one on their own, or you look at someone that started maybe in a career channel, right, or with one carrier, like a captive carrier, and the percentage is like it's like 10 to 20%, make it, and 80 to 90 do not. So that within itself is huge, and it shows you what kind of drive Mike has. So here we are, 30 years in the business now. And I'll just say this real quick. I know Mike works with a few agents, so he's like a typical GA, and he is licensed in multiple states now. Okay, he's based out of Chicago, Illinois. I'm going to just kind of tee this up before we even jump in deeper. if you, okay, and I know we have a lot of agents listening in the audience, and if you think, there's a possible fit or you want to talk to Mike about maybe working together, because he does handle different lines as well, just let me know, and we'll obviously make the introduction. Also his website, mpinsurancegroup.com, before I forget. So, yes, as we go through this, and you'll hear, and I think you'll start to agree with what I'm saying. If you think this is a good fit, you let us know at the end, and we'll definitely hook you guys up. No problem at all. Okay, so, and as I'm talking about that, Mike, you're licensed, on the P&C side, obviously the life side, any other lines? I think you write some DI as well?
Yeah, that's all under the health license, DI and employee benefits and health, stuff like that.
Basically everything but securities, right?
Securities, yes. Securities. We still do securities, but what I did was I found out some years back that there's not enough hours in the day, at least for me, to do both successfully, insurance and securities. So I gave up my securities license, and I have my business partner who's insurance and securities license, but he's more on the security side. He handles the security stuff in our office now.
Yeah, that's smart. And you work together, and yeah, that's a great way to do it. So you kind of cover everything under one roof, really. Yeah, you got all corners covered.
He's my business partner. He's not like an associate outside my office. He's actually every day in my office with me. We're true business partners. So.
And you have an office in Florida too, correct?
Yeah, we have 3 offices in Chicago and 1 in Florida.
Jeez, good for you, Mike. It's incredible. It really is. And knowing this, right, and knowing Mike, you obviously put in the hard work even till today, right? You still go out there and crush it day in and day. I know because I get text messages, emails at crazy times, so I know the hours that you're putting into this business. What would you say, and I hate to get off topic here, but let's say a younger agent, or not even age really is insignificant, but let's just say an agent cutting their teeth in our business, just starting off, any suggestions, tips, where that you have, what you've seen through the last 30 years, anything you can lend to these agents?
I think the path I followed is the right path still. For any new agent, it's better to start on the career side. You get some of the best training. Pick a company like MetLife, Prudential, New York Life, etc., where these companies are known for their training. I mean, or even Northwestern Mutual for that matter. I still believe that any new agent should do the same thing I did, which is start with a career agency or a career company, and get trained properly, build up a clientele base, and then and build up connections in the industry. Because the one thing that saved me when I decided to go independent, okay, and started from ground zero all over again, like we talked about, is my connections I developed over the years working for the career shops. I made a lot of contacts in the insurance world as well as potential customers that were not my customers at the time when I left the career shop. So I was able to I stayed in touch with them over the years. And when I went independent, those were the first people I called because they have nothing to do with the non-compete because they were not customers to begin with.
Yeah, very, very interesting. It's funny you say that because I grew up in South Florida. I'm still here in South Florida, and I have a lot of friends and networking groups and from the car stuff and the gym and professional stuff and all across the board. And everybody says to me, hey, Bill, I'd love to get into the business. Can you hire me? They don't understand how it works, how you're an independent agent. And I tell everyone the same thing. I say, look, if you're just starting off, right, just getting your license, I recommend the same thing. Start on that career side, cut your teeth, learn the ropes, and then, after a year or 2 or even 5, depending on who you are and the training, then you slowly start to think about going independent. And a lot of people, sorry?
I said the one other thing I'll point out is one thing I learned over the years in this business, and I still live by this rule, is never burn bridges with anybody. I mean, you know what? There's people that want, the organizations out there in the insurance world that, want my business, want me to work with them, but, aside from just my relationship with Levinson Associates, I'm not interested with working with anybody else, but I still stay in touch with them because you never know. You never want to put bridges because somebody may become useful to you at some point in the future.
Yeah, it's so true. I feel like the same thing goes on a personal level. It's the same exact thing, and you learn that as you get older. And it's so true. That's something I live by. But yeah, no, I going back to the point, I suggest this all the time, and it works. Mm-hmm. And what I find is most people, they don't wind up making it through the career side, and they say, you know what, this isn't for me. I'm going to go become a real estate agent or mortgage broker, whatever it is. So you're better off, finding out sooner than later and then, making a move. But, with this type of success story that Mike is speaking about, it's very rare, to find someone that, started on the career side, they made it through, started their own independent agency, ground zero, became $1 million producer, constantly growing every year, which is the main reason why I wanted Mike on today's call. So it's awesome. I love to hear it. Let's talk about this for a second. We've seen what's going on, right, with our industry and outside of our industry the last 18 to 24 months with the pandemic. I'm just curious, from your eyes, what have you felt or seen, changes, from a consumer perspective, carriers? What's your take on basically selling insurance during a pandemic?
Well, I found, for a long time at least, people I talked to, potential customers, a lot of them would want to meet face to face, but during the pandemic, they got forced to basically do virtual meetings and virtual appointments. So I took advantage of this time to change my business model a little bit. I still do face to face appointments because things are opening up again, but I think now that more people got used to the whole idea of doing virtual during the pandemic, it's a lot easier now, I think, to set the right expectations with customers that, as far as doing virtual appointments, et cetera.
And even before the pandemic, were you selling over the phone and online as
a lot
much?
Of my customers, I was doing, more so on the property casualty insurance side because there's not too much involvement, too much rocket science and for a customer to figure out whether they want to do business with you. But the more complicated products such as life insurance or outside of term insurance, other life products or long-term care insurance for that matter, those are more and disability, because disability is a very technical product. Those things people still would probably want to do a face-to-face meeting on, I believe. But even that might not be the case after the pandemic. I don't know for sure. But I was doing some virtual before the pandemic. But actually, it got on the life side, it got more virtual during the pandemic. And I think people are getting used to it now.
Yeah, I think it's becoming the norm. And I think from the carrier side, look at how technology and how the underwriting departments have changed so quickly. There were carriers that wouldn't let you write a product unless you were face-to-face with the client before the pandemic. Right. And then it's funny, all of a sudden, you'll see revision 13.2, here's our new e-app and drop ticket, and that rule went out the window, like literally overnight. So it's just kind of crazy how that whole thing happened.
Yeah. The applications, I'm doing them virtually. I'm using e-apps and drop tickets more and more the last probably 7 to 8 years. I've been using them now. But the initial appointments, depending on the product, depending on how complex it is, or how complex the situation is, I should say even, then I'll definitely go and meet with the client. Most of my appointments that are face-to-face today, are business owners, because I understand business owners because I'm a business owner too. They're not going to leave their business to come and see me at my office. So most of my running around appointments are with business owners, because I'll go to their shop or their office or whatever business they're in to do the appointment. But most of the mom and pop customers or families and individuals, more and more of them are doing it, I would say, through email, phone, etc.
Yeah. That makes complete sense. Now, what would you say, and obviously I always get a different answer with this question, but even when you started, day one on the independent side, and then fast forward to today, but what would you say, when I hear P&C, I hear about health and Medicare, MedSup, a lot of agencies use these other products to open doors because they're easier sales, right? They're almost like a necessity. Do you suggest that? I mean, is that something that you did in the beginning? I feel like a auto policy, for example, is probably a great way to open a door and then talk about, oh, by the way, do you have life insurance, kind of thing. Do you suggest that?
Yeah. So I do agree with what you just said, and I do suggest it because, look, most the P&C I love to do is business insurance because the premiums are bigger, depending on the type of business you're doing, and you don't get rate increases like as a business side unless there's claims, but like you do on a home and auto. People I think know the last 5 or 10 years you could have been claim free for the last 5 or 10 years. Still, your rates are nudging up. Rates are nudging up every year. See, auto and home has become a commodity business. It's all price driven, okay?
Yep.
But I still do home and auto because at least in most states, including Illinois, Chicago area, it is required by law to have auto insurance and obviously home insurance too, because you have a mortgage on your house. Unless you don't have a mortgage, then that's up to you. But and same thing, business insurance. See, landlords more and more nowadays, even if you have an office in an office building, more and more landlords are requesting business insurance coverage from you and a certificate of insurance showing that. So, I would agree. I would tell any agent that if there is a product out there that's an easy door opener, it is auto and home insurance, and secondly, business insurance. But as far as Medicare and Medicare supplements, that can be a door opener. But the only problem with that area of the world is that a lot of the only way to really make money in the Medicare business, in my opinion, is to get a list of people turning 65 6 months from now or a year from now, and contact them more than 6 months before they're going to turn 65. Because in the 6 months leading up to turning 65, they're already getting bombarded by the insurance companies with product information, with rates included, etc. So then it's like, well, why do they want to work with you instead of the insurance company? Because they're going to get the same price whether they buy from you or the insurance company at that point.
Yeah, no. That's a strong point. I just feel like you have to, as a newer agent in the business, you have to kind of find and develop your niche. Like you need something. If it's temple or church, or if you're big in the cigar club, or you're whatever the health side, P&C side. I just feel like you have to start with that easy door opener and then kind of pivot and be able to talk about life insurance, annuities, disability, and kind of open the door with something. I think that's very, very important. I think it's make it or break it at that point if you figure something out.
Yeah, because see, life insurance is not a requirement. It's more of a need-based product, where home and auto and business insurance, for that matter, is a requirement most of the time, and pretty much in pretty much every state. So that's the reason why a lot of you'll have to get a lot of customers to make a living off of home and auto. But if you're just using it as a door opener, then it's definitely worth doing it. To make a living off of home and auto, you're probably gonna, and not doing any other insurances besides home, auto, and business insurance, you're gonna probably need 300 customers at least.
Yeah. No, I agree.
Yeah. And also the other thing about home and auto, before we move on, is I'll point out to any new agent, the only other reason to do home and auto is the residual income. The residual income on home and auto and business insurance is not like life insurance. It's way better. But again, that's why I say if you got a decent amount of customers for it, then you can make a decent living just off of that.
Yep. No, I see that. I just learned that too. I didn't know. Is it similar to like a disability policy as far as the trails and renewals? Or even better?
So how it works in most states is you get, on home and auto, you get probably 8 to 15% commission, or I should say 10 to 20% commissions, depending on the insurance company. And, they all are a little different. But then when renewals happen, second year onwards, usually it's a point less every year. So if you got 20% the first year, you're going to get 19% or 18% the following years, every year that you keep the customer on the books. And that's why why a lot of life agents don't do home and auto is because life insurance doesn't have too much service work after the sale. Home and auto, you got a lot of service work, but sometimes it's worth it.
Yeah, that's interesting. I didn't. So it's almost like you keep making a first-year commission every year the policy stays on.
Yeah, but it's like I said, home and auto is a cutthroat business now because it's you got what do you call it? A lot of competition from the insurance companies themselves. They're advertising on TV all the time, and they put their 800 number in. So so a certain percentage of business comes from the direct advertising they do, and certain percentage comes from guys like me, who are agents or brokers with them. And now we have a third layer of competition, which is the insurtech companies like Lemonade and Metromile and some of these new startups that are kind of changing the industry.
Yeah, and that's happening more and more, I see, on the P&C side than the life side, at least. It's happening on the life side, but they haven't figured it out yet.
Yes, that's correct.
Yeah. Very, very interesting. Yeah. We all learned something on these episodes, and I didn't know this part. We've always been focused on life, annuities, supplemental products. So, obviously I know a little bit about that side, but very, very good stuff, Mike. Okay, so, and I think this is important too, when, especially you, right? Because I feel like you offer pretty much every type of product, and I know you have your little niche that you focus in on. What is your, like, I'm sure you have like a follow-up system, a CRM tool where you send out whatever, a holiday email or maybe a monthly e-blast, whatever it is. How do you look at all of that? And I know you obviously think it's important, right, to keep your name in front of these consumers and prospects?
Yeah, absolutely. CRM system is very important in the insurance world, just like it is in the real estate world and mortgage broker world or mortgage company world. And the other way, so that's one way to definitely keep your name in front of your customers as well as prospective potential customers, because, we used to do a lot of direct mail. You would mail stuff out to your customers or to your potential customers, and a lot of times it just gets tossed in the garbage.
Yeah.
But, so that's why using this cost-effective marketing tool called a CRM is definitely worth using. Another way to keep your name in front of people, I found, is not to look at this from a money-making angle initially. Just look at it that you're getting your name out in front of people. One thing that we are actually starting to do in December of this year, and then we're going to do it every other month or every quarter, is a seminar where we'll invite our database of customers, existing customers, ask them to bring one or two, people or whoever they want to bring that might benefit from the seminar. That way we get some fresh potential people at the seminar. And we're just going to do educational seminars. We're not going to sell them anything. They'll just do an educational seminar, kind of like Levinson does with their training once a week for us agents.
That's a fantastic idea. I know there's a group that works with us out of Tampa, and they literally rent out part of the stadium, like one of those hospitality suites, and they do the same thing, and people love it. And they do the same thing, bring a friend and referral, and that's a fantastic idea. And I feel like when it comes to marketing, branding, getting your name out there, yes, you have to try, new things, but you have to make sure, this is my opinion, is that you're constantly, using the CRM to e-blast. Keep your name out there, once a month. Don't bombard these people every day, but, if it's a once a month email, if it's an assistant or, a virtual assistant, calling once a month to say, hey, just want to see if everything's okay, any beneficiary changes or whatever. And then, of course, these seminars you can do online, you can do in person, you can do both. Social media drips, I think, is huge. But in my opinion, you got to have every single corner covered, right? And it's just nonstop. Do you look at it? Do you also use social media, Mike? I'm just curious.
I started to. For years I stayed away from it because I never touched a personal Facebook account for that matter, but. Because social media is a good tool for business and getting your name out there. I do have a Facebook page that was created, and I use LinkedIn and some other sources. Yeah,
these days I feel like it's became like a necessity, especially with the pandemic. I mean, let's just face it, right? I mean, it's people are online, they're on Facebook, and it used to be like the kids were on social media. And now, when your grandparents are on Facebook, you got to be there. So anyway, that's enough on that point. All right, let me ask you this now. Again, we'll switch gears for a second. What do we hear about mortgage protection, IUL and premium finance and final expense, all the above. Is there certain products that you stick with, living benefits? Do you have like your favorite, like 5 types of products or a few products that you stick with? Do you like IUL, whole life?
I use IULs, I use whole life, depending on the situation. I think all these life policies that are available out there have a place in the right, situation. And also whole life, I think is great for kids. Okay, I think it's too expensive for adults. I think IULs are probably better, but depending on the situation, that's how I figure out what product would be the best. I mean, because whole life, I know career shops out there that sell nothing but whole life and make a living off of it, but there is no such thing as one product fits everybody.
Yes. Yep. I agree. And with that said, it doesn't mean you need to have 100 different contracts. I mean, you focus on whatever, 5 or 10 companies and know those products inside and out, and typically you'll have enough to be dangerous and be competitive out there.
No, that's correct. I mean, like I said at the beginning, I started with John Hancock. When I became an independent agent, I didn't do too much John Hancock business, but in the last 10 years on the brokerage side, I've written a decent amount of John Hancock over the last 10 years because they have some good products for the right situations.
Yep. Yes, they're a great company. They just came out with that new accumulation IUL I saw too. So, yep, and they have some good underwriting niches. So, definitely agree with that 100%. Okay, all right. Let's shift gears again. Okay, and I think this is a big one because I've known Mike for a long time, and the one thing I can say, even after 30 years, he is so focused, driven, always does the right thing, always honest as the day is long, and I'm just curious, Mike, like how do you stay so like laser focused, driven? Like I don't know, is it do you read certain books, or was this just the way you were brought up? And what motivates you? What keeps you so focused like this day in and day out? I think that's something we all can learn from.
Well, it's two things. It's the same thing for every business owner, whether you're in the insurance world or you're in a different business. If this business is your bread and butter and your livelihood, you're going to stay focused. If you're doing it part-time, because, again, insurance world is like real estate. You can do it part-time. There are agents who do insurance part-time even today. And, for some agents, I've even told some new agents that have asked me for advice, asked me for advice, I've told them. Because, if you got a full-time job right now, continue your full-time job, do insurance on the side. Once you start making a revenue stream from insurance, then jump ship and do it. Because insurance is, you and I both know, Bill, insurance is not as easy as people think it is.
No, not at all. Not at all.
I think if you last 3 years, according to my calculation, if you make it through 3 years in the insurance world, you're probably going to be here a long time.
Yeah. I like we said a few times, that 80-90% rule. It's just the way it is. But here's what's so interesting, I think. Look at the 10 or 15 or 20% that make it, right? And then you look at some of the top agents in that bucket, and they're crushing it, like you. I mean, there is no other career in the world, right, where you can literally come out of high school, get a license, cut your teeth with a career shop, and have the potential of earning millions of dollars without a college education. I mean, now, obviously, that's not for everyone, and, the percentage is minimal. But once you're there, a guy like Mike, there's no cap. I mean, it's total. You control it. So I think if you have what it takes, it can be an amazing, amazing career path. And Mike proved that.
And this is one of the few businesses where you build it once and you can have a residual income for life as long as you service the customers.
That's right. That's exactly right. I couldn't agree more.
There's not too many businesses there's not too many. You look at mortgage business, you look at real estate business, which are complementary businesses to insurance. Yeah, you make bigger bucks selling real estate. You can make some big bucks selling mortgages, but those are all one-shot deals, and that's why they get paid so much right up front.
That's right. That's exact. And look at the peaks and the valleys, and I feel like our industry is very consistent, and I feel like every year that goes on, and you keep building your book, you're growing no matter COVID or pandemic, or look at the numbers, and these are facts. The numbers in the last 2 years, okay, this is industry-wide, are up 11 to 20% in life insurance sales premium. It's a fact. Because of COVID, life insurance awareness has skyrocketed, right? Because everybody's saying, well, what if mommy or daddy, get this? What if I get it? I have 2 kids. Whatever the case is, we got to be covered. So I don't know. I just think, in my opinion, I think if you have what it takes, it's a great place. And me and Mike are sitting here talking about how, yes, it could be lucrative and you can help these families, and it's not easy. And I think we've said that a few times. But think about this for a minute, okay? And I don't care if you're a mechanic or selling insurance or you're picking fruit in a grove, whatever it is, okay? There is nothing in the world, and I'm going to just tell you a real quick story on what happened to me last week. And Mike, you don't even know this, but just think about this for a second. When you think about jobs, careers, so I have a friend of mine, mid-40s, a woman, professional woman, mid-40s, and we've been friends for almost 20 years. And 11 years ago, she said, Bill, I need life insurance. She knew that I was in the business. So, we have a local agent here that handles like our friends and family. So anyway, she bought a policy 11 years ago, Prudential. And long story short, we're good friends. Everything's fine. And I get a call from her assistant on Saturday. And it turns out she passed on. She died last Friday night. Horrible story. and I was in shock. I'm still in shock. Okay, it's a tragedy. I mean, you can't even explain it in words, right? But this is what's interesting, and it happened to me firsthand. So this was Saturday. So Sunday, her mom calls me. And the first thing out of her mouth is, "Oh my gosh, Bill, I can't believe what happened. I'm so sorry." And I said, "I'm sorry to you. I can't even imagine what you're going through. And, you have to take care of yourself, and that's number one right now, and blah, blah, blah." The second thing out of her mouth, you ready for this? "Bill, I remember she had a life insurance policy. Didn't she have that with your office? Is that still active?" Okay? And I said to myself, "Oh my gosh, I hope to God that this policy is still active. Like we don't even sell insurance. We're a wholesaler, but obviously this is a friend of mine, so we helped her out and got involved and whatever." So, but here's the point. I hung up the phone, and this was Sunday. Okay, obviously we're closed. And I called Michelle in our office, and I said, "Michelle, you got to go on the website, check this policy, make sure it's active, and call me right back. I don't care what you're doing. You stop everything." Anyway, she calls me back. She says, "Bill, great news. It's active." She sent me a screenshot. So I got the pleasure, and there's no good part of this because it's a tragedy, but just imagine I was the one person out of everyone that was able to call back this woman who just lost her daughter to say, guess what? Yes, she had $1 million policy, and yes, it's active, and everything's fine. Here's the link to collect the claims forms and to send them in. And you heard a little bit of joy, a little smile through the phone that she probably, just imagine her life. She said she hasn't slept since it happened, blah, blah, blah. So my point is, going back again, when you look at, commissions, renewals, making a living, yes, it's important and we have to do that. But look at the why and how you could be Superman or Superwoman and help these families, and you could make that call. And because of your appointment with that person or that family, they were able to stay in a house, or the kids were able to go to college, right? Think about that. There's nothing else like it. And when you can figure out how to make a good living like Mike has, right? What a win-win-win across the board. Okay, and that my dad told me 20 years ago. He said, "Bill, when an agent delivers a death benefit check, it changes the way they look at this business forever." And it kind of happened to me last weekend. So anyway, I just wanted to share that. And I think, Mike, do you agree with that? I don't know. Have you ever been in a situation similar to that?
Yeah, I've had a few death claims by now.
Yeah,
but
I'm
yeah,
sure.
I mean, one thing you guys offer that I wish it would have been available back some years back is legacy armor, but anyway, but through our database, yeah, I've had calls and we've had to check to see if a policy is active because after so many years in this business, you don't know at all times which policies are active and which aren't.
Yeah,
And I've had to make I've actually had two. There were two instances where I had to make a good call to a deceased son, daughter, relative, and give them the good news that the policy is still active. Now there was one time where I had to make the negative call and let them know that, or let somebody else know that their relatives or their mother's or father's policy lapsed a few years ago.
Yeah, that's on the other side of the coin. That's not a fun call.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I can. That's how the business works.
That's it. That's exactly right. But I'll tell you what, when I was able to confirm that this policy was active, and you were the one, right, that suggested this or made it happen, and I called to say, hey, I have a little bit of good news for you. Are you sitting down? And you can hear the tone in her voice change. It was priceless. This was just Sunday afternoon. It's crazy. So anyway, I think that we all have to understand the why, right? And you got to get behind that and just run with it. because it's a big deal, and there's nothing else in the world that offers that kind of convenience and comfort to a family or to a beneficiary. So I don't know. There you have it. I wanted to share that. And then, we're just about done, by the way. And I think this is just great casual conversation and great nuggets here. Mike just brought up that legacy armor. So think about, the same situation with my friend, that passed last week. If, let's say, the person, I don't want to name any names, had legacy armor, right? This online safe deposit box. Think about this for a second. Her mom, which is in another state, right, gets wind of this. They get an automatic ping, right, an email. Gets wind of this, opens the email, opens the secure vault, and sees all policies, annuities, investments, family pictures, passwords. Where's the pot of gold that I hid under Aunt Audrey's house in Tamarack? And here's the address, and I want you to have it. Okay, that's what Legacy Armor does, and you can offer that to these consumers. Okay, and when you tell a real story like this, which is not obviously it's real, it just happened, it makes such a huge difference. And again, you're the superhero, okay, point blank. And you're providing this. If you're in the VIP plan, it's free, okay? It's free for your consumers. So, these are things that make a difference in people's lives for the rest of their life, literally. So, okay, enough of my ranting. Mike, with that said, is there anything else that you want to end with? Any other notes that you want to leave the audience with?
I think we covered most of the stuff.
Okay, good stuff. Good stuff. I agree with you. I think this was awesome. And again, Mike is available for you all if you think that it's a good fit, and he obviously thinks it's a good fit. What's neat about his business model is he's not just focused on, fixed and indexed annuities and not just index life, and he's literally got all corners covered, so he can help you all tremendously if it's a fit for both. So I'll leave you with that. This was awesome. I appreciate everyone taking the time. Most important, Mike, you taking the time. I mean, that means the world to us. Mike will be again at our expo here in South Florida 2022. So you can introduce yourself, shake hands, and we'll thank him for his work he did today. But with that said, I think we'll end with that, and call me and I can make the introduction. I have no problem with that. Let's have a great happy Halloween, a great holiday season coming up, and hopefully this pandemic is over sooner than later and we can all get back to the norm. And register for the expo, and we'll talk soon. Great selling. Thank you again, everyone, for taking the time. And Mike, thanks again, buddy. Take care.
Thank you.
Yep.
Thank you for joining us for the Bill Levinson Experience. Please feel free to share this podcast with anyone you think would be interested. You may also visit levinsonandassociates.com and all of Bill Levinson's social media pages for more information.